Hello. I know it's been a while. I've had to actually do this already once because the microphone audio setup fucked itself. Alright, I've had chicken nuggets. They're just here, sorry. Proof. I'm not lying. Um, they were talking about a lens, as always. Nothing else for me to do right now. We're doing one on the Laowa Macro. It's a 100mm macro. I should have said that at the start rather than just a Laowa Macro, because that's fucking vague. The Laowa 100mm macro, it's a Sony E mount. As you can probably guess, because, you know, that's what I shoot on. You can get it in EOF. EOF? You can get it on EOS R, F, EF, Nikon Z, and Nikon F mount. It's a 2:1 macro ratio, so it's like really close up. Or if you don't understand or if you don't know, macros typically are a 1:1 ratio, and that's fine. Like for 90% of macro situations, 1:1 ratio, more than enough for most people. It will suffice you throughout, so don't feel like you have to go 2:1. I just did it because it was cheap. And you'll see, I'll tell you that later. But yeah, so 2:1 ratio, it's 2 times the size of life. It's doubling the size of it. So whatever your camera sees normally at 1:1 ratio, double it. Or it's quite big. So things like ants, ladybirds, flower petals, all that stuff doubled in size. It's a really cool way of doing macro, and it's not typically seen in a lot of macro. I mean, you need to get specific lenses for it. There's very few out there. With that being said, there's not many of these around, and it's quite hard to find them in Sony E mount because they're really popular. It's a really nice lens. You probably can't see, but I will get some B-roll footage later. This lens is fully metal. There's nothing plastic about it. That's the most plastic, the Sony back cap. But other than that, it's fully metal. It's got a really nice build quality to it. Aperture blades are nice and clicky. The focusing, nice and smooth. A nice smooth focus throw. Quite a long focus throw, because you're going from infinity down to 24.5 centimeters, which is really good. So you can do everything within that distance. You can focus on everything from close to far. That's just how it is. The only weird part, let me get my photo. Bam! You see that little thing in there? You might be able to do. There's a weird way of holding it. It moves, so you can kind of see it moves back and forth. It's not anything different in any of your other lenses, just you don't necessarily see it, and it's usually internally, like this is, but covered by other elements. But this moves the front element, which is really weird to see. I didn't realize it when we first got it in. When I first used it, I didn't realize that, and I looked at it, I was like, huh, that's a bit fucking odd. And that's great, it's fine. But problem is that causes a lot of focus breathing, and it's not. In lenses like this, where it's not that much focus breathing, because you're going from like 30 centimeters or however fucking close I am to a little bit closer, you know, or a little bit further. It's not much difference really. With this, because you're going from infinity to 2 times macro reproduction, you have to move the focus so much. You go from what's effectively, I think, meant to be 100mm, and you focus all the way down, and it zooms in. Instead of it actually doing a macro reproduction, it just goes, everything just goes, and it gets a lot darker, and it's the same problem with all macro lenses. Things just get darker the closer you get to them, and that's just how it is. Not much you can do about it. You have to add artificial light, same here and here. It's just what you gotta do. With that being said, optically, this is one of the sharpest lenses I've ever used. And I work at a camera store. We get a load of lenses in. G Masters, RF, L series. We get it all in. We get a lot of different stuff in. But this is still, by far, the sharpest lens I've used to date. Like, this is insane. It's really, really sharp. Even completely wide open at 2.8, this lens resolved detail I didn't even realize was out there. You know, I was shooting things with 100mm macro, and it's a weird one to shoot. 100mm 2.8 it's a weird focal length, but things that just slightly further reach. 100mm, great. 2.8 blurs the background out amazingly, and it's a really nice lens to use, and it's really sharp. And I'll show you some photos, things I've really just taken my garden at a normal distance, but also stuff at a macro distance. a 1:1 and a 2:1 ratio. There'll be different things, so I'll try and get as good photos as I can, but I don't. There's not much light left. It looks bright, but it's 2 p.m. It's getting quite dark. This will be going up the day I recorded it. So it will probably be by nighttime. Yeah. It's a really good lens. Optically fantastic. I'm gonna put the filter back on so I get nervous. Because basically it just creates a fucking cavity in the front. Like, you just get this really deep hole in front of your lens. You're like, shit's just gonna fall down there. Just get a 20 quid. 20 quid filter. Doesn't have to be anything special. Hoya is usually the best bet, just because they're really good and they're affordable. But yeah, if you want to know the specs, I'll just run through them really quickly. Obviously, weight of this one, and it's weird because they all vary depending on the mount you get, but for Sony E mount, the weight is 638 grams, which is about 36 grams heavier than the 90mm macro from Sony. So if you want autofocus but you don't mind about the 2:1 ratio, that's a really good option to go for. If you don't need autofocus and you want extra ratio and a really sharp lens, this is a really good option. It's about 500 quid, 400, 500 quid new. I got my 300 quid second hand just because of the condition it's in. It came boxed and everything. It's bargain. And yeah, it's really, really nice. It has 13 aperture blades, which is really, really nice, especially for the macro reproduction. You get a nice smooth background blur, nice and gentle, it's good roll off to it. There's no kind of harsh jubbers or any kind of soap bubbling or anything like that. It's just a really good quality focus. And then when it comes to the other models, they have between like 7 to 9 aperture blades for Canon EF and Nikon F mount. It's a weird one. I don't know why they changed that, but whatever. I think it's like 13 elements in 10 groupings. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how many fucking bits of glass you got in there as long as it's sharp. You know? But yeah, it's an apochromatic lens. If you don't know what that means, it's just it controls the chromatic aberration in both the in-focus and out-of-focus areas, and just latitudinally as well. Like, overall, you lose out on autofocus. You lose out on EXIF data readouts. You don't know your aperture. But what you gain is super high quality build and a super high quality optic. And I'd say overall that makes up for it in so many more ways than is ever imagined. But yeah, I hope to be doing more videos soon. This is the start, mainly because it's a fairly easy lens. There'll be other ones. I've got other lenses. I've got my 85mm and some other stuff. So if you guys really want to see those, please leave a comment. That'd be awesome. Hopefully subscribe as well, because I would like to do more of these, and it is just down to me finding time and actually doing it. I know this doesn't take that long to just sit here and do it, but I also have to get the actual item, so if we don't have certain lenses in, I can't get them. I also need to just do it, and that's the main thing. It's just doing it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. There'll be, like I said, I think I said this earlier, there will be images throughout the video of this lens, and I'll add some B-roll, and I'll add photos taken from it, and I'll add video taken from it featuring everything. And if you want any more information, please do leave a comment. I try to respond to everyone I can, and because there's not many comments, I usually get back to you, so give it a go. That'd be great. And see you later, guys. Cheers.